I'm Ned Reynolds. Thank you very much for joining us. I have the pleasure of being in the company of four of the most astute academicians in the Ozarks, if not the nation, and these are the four chancellors from Missouri State University. Dr. Marvin Looney, who was the very first ever chancellor. To my right is General Fred Marty. He is joined by Colonel Kent Thomas, who is over here to my left, and the current chancellor at Missouri State West Plains is Dr. Drew Bennett. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us, and it's time to talk a little bit about Grizzly athletics. Well, Dr. Looney, the story on you, I think, is probably well known by everybody here. Here you retire to your home in Gainesville, where you're native, after serving many years as the university president, and answer the doorbell one night, and here is a group of folks from over in Howell County in West Plains, and they have come over to unretire you. You laid many foundations down there, the institution. Now, one of these foundation blocks is the Grizzlies athletic program, and it was right there, you're kind of the start of it. What were your thoughts when that first started, and how did it come about?
Well, Ned, when I first went to West Plains, we organized what we called a booster club, and we talked a long time about what we needed, and we had a gentleman there on our foundation board that owned the radio station by the name of Bob Nethery. Mr. Nethery said one night, you know, I think we need a basketball team. Of course, we'd been talking about athletics for some time, and right away we started considering having a basketball team. At the same time, we were attempting to build the Civic Center, which we would need a place to play, of course, if we had a basketball team. And I called around to a lot of people that I'd known over the years in sports and asked them about basketball teams and so on. And I had a good friend that had coached down at, well, he coached at UCLA and he coached at Memphis State and Birmingham and St. Charles, a number of places, and we'd been neighbors up in Warrensburg. And I asked Gene Bartow, I said, what do you think about this? We're thinking about starting a basketball team in West Plains for the two-year school. And he said, well, do you have a place to play? And of course we were about to get the Civic Center. And he thought, he and I both had the same feeling that an athletic program certainly added a dimension to a college that it doesn't have otherwise. And certainly Gene was right, and we started the team, and we'd pull in as many as 2,500 to 3,000 people. So we knew then that people were interested.
Now, General, when you went down there, you knew about the impact of basketball. You saw the burgeoning impact of volleyball on that community. What did it mean to you?
It was great. As Dr. Looney had already expressed, the community had already fallen in love with the Grizzlies. Both the basketball team and the volleyball team was coming on. In fact, we won the first regional championship, had a chance to go to the nationals up at Kansas City, and we saw what that was, and giving them the taste of that was great. And I remember the basketball Grizzlies had stopped the Indian Hills team from breaking Coach Wooden's record, and that really put West Plains on the map.
When you saw the programming burgeoning the way it did, what did it mean to you, and did you offer to change it in any way to bring in any kind of different athletes?
Well, you know, the program had a history and a tradition of winning. That wasn't the problem. Paying for it became the challenge, because at that time we were undergoing some funding challenges from Jefferson City, and the cost is substantial. So we worked to make the community aware of some of the costs and what those were and what the institution was bearing, and asked their help. And of course the Grizzly Booster Club was great. They provided the support, they provided a lot of funding, but there are always needs, and those continue to exist.
We talk about West Plains as such, but this is more of a regional school. Have you found the support to continue?
Absolutely. Those regional communities were instrumental. People would drive, they became attached to the Grizzlies, and they would drive to West Plains, or when we would play at a neighboring institution, in many cases would bring a lot of that community support following the Grizzlies, and it got to be the grizzly blue color, and you'd see the stands and they would just be illuminated in those blue shirts.
Now, you as an educator find that to be a positive. There's some educators who don't, who think that it's a frivolous waste of time. How do you respond?
Well, the athletics program is a window into the university, and it helps so many students who may not have even thought about going to school, right there within the community, right there within the region, a chance to, hey, look at what's going on here, and by golly, they've got some programs that could attract me.
Colonel, you know fully well you have to have the right people in place, and Trish Knight certainly was a perfect leader for those volleyball teams.
And loved the way that she developed young women and helped make them into future leaders for our nation.
I'm glad you brought that up, too. This is a two-year school. The objective is not to end it after 2 years, it's to continue on. Did you find that the student athletes were readily acceptable of that philosophy?
Oh, yes. We had students, particularly volleyball students, that went on to be nurses. We had basketball students that went on to be bankers. They learned a good work ethic playing basketball and volleyball. They learned the fact that you have to prioritize your time.
You have seen the discipline that's required in life. Do you find that athletics helps to discipline these kids, both males and females?
Yes. I mean, there are those that you are not going to be successful with, but for the most part it does. Participation, involvement makes a tremendous difference in people's lives. And if you can get them to become involved, they become productive throughout their entire life. And that's something that not all students come to college with these days.
When you get them out there and competing, do you find that they are better students?
Most of them, not all, but most of them are, yes. They learn a work ethic that many of them didn't have before they came.
None of these programs, none of the athletics, none of the academics comes cheap anymore. It's all very expensive, and especially the athletics. How did you, as the chancellor, engender that fundraising?
We had to make the case that we needed the programs for the students, that we needed the programs for the city, and that we did not have the funding to do it. We took a 20% cut in our state appropriation 2/3 of the way through 2002. And we were fortunate that the community rallied behind us. You have to put some money in the game if you want to be successful at something. And we need participation and caring people. I'll tell you what, junior college basketball is a show unto itself. We had people that could do some amazing things, but it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch the girls play volleyball.
Well, Dr. Bennett, we have heard all about everything that preceded your tenure as a chancellor at Missouri State West Plains. Your thoughts on the present day?
I'm extremely fortunate to have inherited a program from such fine leaders that went before to establish this. And I am a Grizzly fan, as the previous chancellors have said, an exciting thing that is really important to our campus.
And during your tenure there, you have seen that basketball team achieve a #1 status in the country.
Made history. You know, our volleyball team has consistently been a great team, going to the national championship 11 consecutive years. But year before last, our basketball team ranked #1 in the nation for 4 or 5 weeks, in the last couple of 3 weeks by unanimous vote. We're preparing young men and women when we graduate and have them walk across the stage to compete on a national level in a global society. Some of our students have never been out of the Ozarks. What better way to prepare them to sit across from an athlete who is from Iran, from Brazil, from Turkey, from China? You know, our athletic program brings a window to the world. It's a window to our community, for our community to become involved, but it does more than just the accomplishments that they put on the scoreboard.
Now, you mentioned one of the Middle Eastern countries, Iran, and you did have a player from that country here.
For 2 years, we had Farbad Farman from Iran. Again, countries such as the Czech Republic, China, one of our, instrumental trading partners, important to our economy. Isn't it wonderful to sit in a classroom and learn about these things and then talk to someone from China? It's an opportunity that not every 2-year school has.
Not only that, but for these youngsters coming from another country, you're coming to a part of the country that probably is not on the same level with a New York or a San Francisco or anything like that. This is Middle America. How have they been able to acclimate themselves?
Well, the Grizzly host families that adopt these players, It's just a phenomenal experience. I had an opportunity to have Farbod Farman's parents come and visit with me. They visited their son for a month, almost 2 months. Before they went back to Iran, they stopped, and Farbod had to translate because mom and dad didn't speak English very well. But with tears rolling down her eyes, Farbod's mother explained that she was quite worried about her son coming to America because they had heard some different things in their country, but that the experience she had, the outreach of the community, the friendliness, she said that the people in this area were friendlier than her neighbors back home, and she was no longer worried about her son. But Ned, we don't give degrees in volleyball or basketball. We're about to enter the third reduction in state appropriations for the Missouri State University West Plains. And as the state appropriations dwindle and continue to fall, we have to aggressively look at other ways to pay for things, and one of those things are athletics.
Dr. Looney, you have been around education all your life. You know fully well the importance of athletics and academics, but you also know it does not come without a price. It is important to have that public support of each of the athletic programs.
Yes, we have a great program at West Plains right now, both academics and athletics, but finances is getting somewhat slim as the state budgets run short, and we need to get our booster club to step up the pace just a little bit. We want to keep the kind of program we have right now, and we can't do it without the financing that is needed to do it.
General Marty, I know you share those same thoughts about athletics and academics. They are very important, but there's a cost factor involved.
Absolutely, and that's why the Booster Club is so vital to this program. And over the last several years, know that several of the Booster Club members have had to reduce their contribution, and at this time it's really important that everybody consider whether or not they can step back up to the level or even increase that for the program.
Colonel Thomas, you know fully well, as do all of us in the private sector, that the economy is such that the money is not as free-flowing as maybe it once was, and yet it is so vital to the program continuing.
Booster clubs are a perishable resource. People leave the town, people pass away. We need multi-generational support, and we need people to be invested in what we're trying to do. The Grizzlies are not just the Missouri State West Plains example of athletics. They are representative of what we do in that region and make a big difference, and the boosters are the way that will fund that.
Dr. Bennett, you have been a part of the Grizzlies program and experienced big success, but it doesn't come without a price.
It doesn't, and we're mindful of that we want to fence this program for the future, save it for the future, continue the future. Our commitment is there. The best way to maintain it for the future is to endow the program. And endowed scholarships are one of those ways that we can guarantee that that money is going to be there year after year after year.
Well, gentlemen, thank you all very much for taking time to visit with us. And we certainly hope that you seriously consider being a part of Grizzly Athletics, because it is a winner.
It has significant economic impact, great entertainment,
Very competitive.
participation, involvement.
A window to the world.
We need multi-generational support.
We need to get our booster club to
Step back up.
To endow the program.